training together, KSBA, you'll see these, or you should see these, when the schools, this is a source, the TEL survey is a source document for our needs assessment. So as our principals begin submitting their needs assessment and their comprehensive school improvement plans, you'll see these areas and others, or you should see, because folks, that's the main thing you do, is the purse strings. Where are we spending our money? You look at these budgets, proposed budgets, and you ask, why are we spending, $20,000, $25,000 on professional development? Well, because our survey and the source or the data indicates that we need more professional development, and not just any professional development. For example, if Mr. Quillen submits his needs assessment and his budget, he's asking for X amount of money in professional development. Now, whether he gets it or not is another thing, but he needs to be asking for it. Principals, I've asked them not to think about where the money comes from. They need to ask for what they need to develop their faculty and staff and get their students where they need to be, whether it's closing gaps or providing common planning time for their teachers. So if the board has questions for the principals as they give this data, don't hesitate to ask them.
Principals or their right hands, and Inez Elementary's right hand is here tonight.
I sort of got drafted into this today at the last minute. Oh, by the way, I have a board meeting tonight, but I have to go preach a funeral, so can you do this one? So I said, sure, why not? So we're going to go ahead and this is set up in kind of our strengths and our weaknesses that we found through the TEL survey. So the first question says, teachers are relied upon to make decisions about educational issues. 92% of our teachers agreed or strongly agreed with that. I think that our teachers, and when you look at this data, you have to keep in mind that this was last year's data, and this was another administration. So 92% of our teachers did agree or strongly agree with that. The second question is, teachers are encouraged to participate in school leadership roles. This is also, again, 92% of our teachers agreed or strongly agreed with that. Teachers have sufficient access to instructional technology, including computers, printers, software, and internet access. All of our classrooms and our computer lab. We have a library that has all of the printers and the computers and everything that are set up for the teachers and the students to use. So that was 100% agreed with that. Areas for improvement. School administrators consistently enforces rules for student conduct. 58% of those teachers disagreed or strongly disagreed. And the second question, school administrators support teachers' efforts to maintain discipline in the classroom. 50% of the teachers disagreed or strongly disagreed. Areas for improvement. Efforts are made to minimize the amount of routine paperwork that teachers are required to do. 50% of those teachers disagreed or strongly disagreed with that. And the last thing is the professional development needs. We were sort of like Mr. Quillen. We also thought that teachers needed more training in closing the achievement gap, differentiating instruction, and classroom management. If you look, the classroom achievement gap, 60% said yes, that they needed more training, and 40% said no. For differentiated instruction, 63% said yes, and 27% said no, that should be. And the classroom management, 47% said yes, and 53% said no. So those were just kind of our strengths and our weaknesses that we found during the TEL survey. That's it. Anybody have any questions?
And I believe Martin County Middle School is here.
Mr. Haney couldn't be here tonight, so he asked me to come in, and I want you to keep in mind as I'm going through this, we were two different schools last year. It was Inez Middle School and Northfield Middle School under two different principals. So instead of bringing you percentages, we just kind of summarized the overall results for both schools. And kept it short, only 5 slides. So let's go on to the next slide. Okay, some positive is that teachers are allowed to focus on educating students. They didn't feel like we tied up a lot of unnecessary time and took them out of the classroom. Teachers were protected from duties that interfere with the essential role of educating students. And they felt like they had sufficient access to technology for instruction. Pretty much what Susan said there. School administrators consistently enforce rules for student conduct. That was over both schools. School administrators support teachers' efforts to maintain discipline in the classroom. And they also felt that we do a good job of encouraging parents to be involved through our Title I meetings, things like that, and our Family Resource Center. They're always trying to get parents in. And that the school maintains clear, consistent two-way communication between the school and the community. We did have some positive statements, and that's that the school, the students at our schools follow rules of conduct. And I think good communication helps with that. We would have morning meetings with our students in the gym. If we were having problem areas, then we would just kind of reiterate rules and procedures to address any problems that we were having and cut down on that. Okay, the physical environment of the school and classroom supports teaching and learning. I feel like I brought my own because my contacts are wearing out this late at night. The school leadership consistently supports the teachers. You know, if they go and ask administration for something, if it's within their means of doing it, I think both Mr. Nichols and Mr. Haney were really good to support the teachers. And they felt that we consistently supported them. I'll go on to PD in a minute. Teachers are relied upon to make educational decisions. We would have PLC meetings, staff meetings, and talk about things that were coming up and get teacher input with it, data analysis, RTI. And the school leadership facilitates using data to improve student learning. Like I said, we use our K-Prep, we use our Explorer, we use MAP, and then we also use our RTI data from Alex and Lacey Reading, which is what we use for that. So I think the data was useful. And we do have our data room up and going at Martin County Middle School. It's pretty impressive. Mr. Fletcher was good enough to make posters for us. It's looking pretty good. And that teachers use assessment data to inform their instruction. We're really big on pushing formative assessment, guiding our instruction as we go, instead of waiting until the end and getting the summative after it's too late. And you know, with standards-based grading, the high school did that last year, but we've started doing that district-wide now, and the kids are really getting the opportunity to go back and retest on standards if they didn't master. So I think that's working out well. And I thought that overall the school's a good place to work and learn. And I think so too. I think it's still a good place to work and learn, even though we consolidated this year. Okay, we did have a few red flags, and I think Ms. Preston mentioned that the K-Prep data was not getting back in time. We were able to get that back earlier this year, but you know, if there was a way to get it back before school started, so that you could plan and guide your instruction from within that data, would be just wonderful. Okay, completing required administrative paperwork. That's kind of contradictory to the first slide, so I don't know what's going on with that, where they felt like their instructional time was protected, but you know, with the job, there are just certain tasks that have to be done. Addressing student discipline issues. They felt like they wanted to be more involved in developing policies and deciding what consequences go with the discipline. And then in collaborative planning time, I think we've addressed that. You know, before Warfield Middle was such a small staff that we weren't able to give everybody common planning time. But with our schedule this year and the consolidation of the schools, it gave us a big enough staff so that we do have common planning time for each department. And I think that's working out well. Professional development. In meeting with program reviews, I'm hearing, you know, I need PD in my area. So I've kind of encouraged them to look for PD and request it. I mean, if you don't request it, you don't need to go. So I'm like, find something that supports your discipline and request it. But with PD 360 now, I was telling them there's lots of good things available on there, and we're trying to make teachers more aware of the PD that they can get there. Okay, input on the school budget. You know, that's kind of a site-based issue. If teachers come to me about how the school's spending money, then I encourage them to talk to the principal, talk to site-based members, and let them know what you want so that they're making decisions that support the needs of the teachers. And then the selection of teachers new to the school, you know, that's interviewing and I was on the interview committees at my school. I'm not sure how Inez did it, but usually it was a couple site-based members, the principal, the counselor, and I think we've even, I don't remember if we had parents, but you know, if there's something going on that teachers feel like they need to be involved in, then I just encourage them to talk to the principal. But that's it in a nutshell. Any questions?
Yeah, your budget.
Hmm?
Your budget, how much money did you have at Warfield?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not on site-based.
Okay, but when you got Warfield back there, well, you know, one of the things was problems with the budget, right, school budget. It's your Section 6 money that they get. Do they get that now, correct?
Yes, they do. I think the item on the board was the teachers did not feel that they were either involved or
Involved in
engaged
the-
with the budget process in
Yeah,
the school.
well, I just wonder if you all handed him that money. Handed him money in the budget. I mean, you know, I talked to Michael Markham here before. Michael should have got something like $32,000 based upon his enrollment. He had 8,000. So I'm wondering how much you all got.
I
If you had
can't give
150
you,
students.
I can't give you a dollar amount, but I can say that if I needed something, if there's something I needed for the guidance program, or if teachers came to Mr. Nichols and asked for money, if there was a way for him to find it and provide that need, he would need it. And I'm sure Mr. Haney would do the same thing. But we're all tied on this.
Thank you.
CTC.
All right, something to keep in mind that I found, and I had to take into consideration, my staff's quite small. There's 9 of us, and my maintenance guy did not do the survey. So I had to consider, when we dropped, I looked basically at how we compared with other agency schools as well as the district and the state. So when we dropped below, I knew exactly how many teachers that maybe were having bad days or whatever. So I had to take that into consideration and things. But I was very, very pleased to look at our strengths and our 5 top ones that I chose, we had 100% on. And particularly, I was proud of the shared vision of high expectations. That has always been my philosophy.